All right. Good morning, mathematicians, and might I say a huge welcome back to everybody. I feel like it's been forever since I've made a video, and obviously since I've talked to you guys. Unless I did see you at camp, because that was a ton of fun. I hope you guys, those of you guys who went to camp, I hope you guys enjoyed it. And I hope you guys enjoyed your break, and I hope you guys feel refreshed and ready to finish off the year strong. Let's see. Was there anything? One thing before we get into our notes for today, I I wanted to update you guys on baby Lucas. So officially Lucas is 20 weeks, and on Wednesday he'll be 21 weeks. And if you're trying to guess what fruit Lucas is, he is the size of, hopefully you can tell from my drawing here, he's the size of a banana, which is pretty crazy. Mrs. RG says he's feeling heavier every day, and so I feel bad, but, she's making it through. The baby's healthy, everything is good, and that's where I am at today. Just in case you guys are wondering. So I will be seeing you guys on Wednesday. However, in the announcements, as you guys should know, I will not be here on Thursday or Friday. I will be going up to Long Beach for a teacher's conference. Okay, so I will not be here those 2 days. All right, enough of that. Let's go ahead and dive right into our lesson for today. And we're talking about multiplying fractions. And of course, there are a bunch of different situations with multiplying fractions. And we're going to take a look at some of the different types of things that you guys will encounter. So, our focus question here, it says, how does an area model relate to multiplying fractions? Okay, now, I don't know about you guys, but sometimes pictures really help me understand something, right? Sometimes when people are just talking at you, it's kind of hard to visualize what they're talking about without an actual picture being there. Okay, and a lot of the time, the same thing happens in math, right? There are just different ways to help different people understand the same topic. Okay, so today we're going to take a look at this thing called a brownie pan, and what you guys are going to need are 2 different colors. We're doing more than 2? Nope, just 2 different colors. Okay. All right, so hopefully you guys have that. Let's take a look at this right here. Okay, this is all of the information that we need for all of the different problems that we are going to solve here. Okay, so let's take a read. All of the pans of brownies are square. Okay, so a pan of brownies costs $12. I think that's important. So brownies cost $12. A full pan of brownies costs $12. I should say that. You can buy any fractional part of a pan of brownies and pay that fraction of $12. For example, 1/2 of a pan costs 1/2 of $12, or $6. We can write this as a number sentence using 1/2 of 12 is equal to 6. In number sentences using the word of means multiply. For example, 1/2 of 12 equals 6 is the same thing as 1/2 times 12 equals 6. So there are some pretty big things in here. So you would pay for whatever fraction you buy of a brownie pan, you're going to pay that fraction of $12. Okay, that's important. That's going to help you with these next few questions here. Okay, and we're going to be doing a lot of word problems, and sometimes keywords can help us out, and they tell us in this little informational paragraph here, it says, in number sentences using the word of means to multiply. So if you see 1/2 of 12, you would do 1/2 times 12. Or if you saw 2/4 of 16, you would do 2/4 times 16, and so on and so forth. So I think those are pretty much the important parts here. So let's take a look at the actual problem then. All right, so Mr. Williams asks to buy 1/2 of a pan of brownies that is 2/3 full. Okay, so half of a pan of brownies, he wants to buy half of a pan of brownies that is only 2/3 full. So it says to use a copy of the brownie pan model shown to the right. That's this lovely square here. Okay. Draw a picture to show how the brownie pan might look before Mr. Williams buys brownies. So we need to think about, well, how much of the pan was full before Mr. Williams buys any? Well, if we read the original problem, Mr. Williams asks to buy half of a pan of brownies that is 2/3 full. So it might be a good idea to split your brownie pan into thirds as best you can. Okay, it doesn't need to be perfect, but it needs to be almost there, right? They need to look like thirds. All right, and we need to show that it's 2/3 full. So I'm going to go ahead and shade in 2 of these rectangular pieces. There we go. I love me some brownies because they're delicious. Okay, there we go. So there's 2/3 of a brownie pan. Now, is that all we need to do? It says draw a picture to show how the brownie pan. Yes, I think we're good. All right, on the same model. Next question here. On the same model, use a different color. See, here's that second color now to show the part of the brownies that Mr. Williams buys. Note that Mr. Williams buys a part of the brownie pan. Let's take a look at what that looks like. So I'm going to use blue here. So I know that Mr. Williams wants to buy half of a pan of brownies, right? So I'm going to split my square. I'm going to split my brownie pan into halves, except this time, instead of going up and down or vertically, I'm going to split my brownie pan in half going sideways or horizontal, just like that. So looking sideways, right, you can tell that I'm splitting my brownie pan in half. And then if you look vertically or going up and down, you can see that I'm splitting my brownie pan into thirds. Okay, so take a look here. Here's my thirds. And then these parts are my halves. Okay? Now, how much does he want to buy? Oh, he wants to buy half of the brownie pan. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to shade in, well, what's 1/2? 1/2 of the brownie pan. So that's going to look like this. There we go. That's half of a brownie pan. But because the brownie pan was originally only 2/3 full, right? This piece right here, this little section here, doesn't exist. So the next question says, what fraction of a whole pan of brownies does Mr. Williams buy? You'll notice that this section right here, the reason why I'm using a third color is because my colors don't blend together like yours do. So red and blue make purple. And here we go, here we go, here we go. Boom. That purple section is how much Mr. Williams buys. Well, taking a look at how my brownie pan is split, what would you guys say? Let me make some lines here to make this a little bit clearer. There we go. So what fraction of a whole pan? Well, how many pieces are there? How many total pieces are there in the entire pan? Here's 1, there's 2, there's 3, there's 4, there's 5, and there's 6. So it looks like the denominator is going to be 6. And then how many purple pieces? Well, there's 2 of them. So it looks like 2/6 of the brownie pan does Mr. Williams buy. And of course, we like to simplify. Let me rewrite this fraction here. So 2/6, and we're going to simplify, right, by dividing by 2. So it looks like Mr. Williams buys 1/3 of a whole brownie pan. Okay. Next question. So how much does Mr. Williams pay for his brownies? Oh goodness, how do I know that? Well, if you take a look back here in our paragraph, we know that every brownie pan costs $12, and you pay that fraction of $12. So how much did Mr. Williams buy? He bought 1/3. So we're going to do 1/3 of $12. Oh, actually, I guess that we could write that down here for A5, right? 1/3 of $12, because that's what they want us to do. But we know this, us being mathematicians, that we're really just multiplying, well, 1/3 times 12. And in this case, we get 12 over 3, and 12 divided by 3 is 4. So it looks like Mr. Williams is paying $4. So there you guys have a visual representation of multiplying fractions, right? This brownie pan is what we call an area model, because we're looking at the area of this brownie pan and seeing, well, how much, for example, does Mr. Williams buy? And in this case, he bought 1/3 of the brownie pan. 1/3 of the total area of the brownies. We're going to take a look at another example here. So question B. Serena buys 3/4 of another pan that is half full. Draw a picture to show how the brownie pan might look before Serena buys her brownies. Okay, so again, we're going to split this. Let's see. The pan says that it is half full. So going vertically, I'm going to draw my pan going halfway through. Those look like halves. Okay, and this much, or this is how much is filled with brownie here. Okay, so half of the pan is filled with brownie. Now it says, use a different color to show the part that Serena buys. So, Serena buys 3/4 of a pan. So going sideways, I'm going to split my square into fourths. So there's my half. There's part of my fourths. And there's the last part. So now I have my fourths on my going sideways. And then I have my halves going along the bottom. Okay? And Serena wants to buy 3/4. So what we're going to do is we're going to shade in 3/4 going from side to side. So that's going to look like this. So there's 1/4. There's 2/4. And then lastly, there are 3/4. Now, what fraction of a whole pan of brownies does Serena buy? Now, again, I'm using a third color here because my colors don't mix together, but blue and yellow make green. Okay, so it looks like we have 3 of these green pieces. So take a look and count how many total sections do you now have on your brownie pan. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So it looks like our denominator is going to be 8, and then how many are green? 3 of them are green. So it looks like the fraction of brownies that Serena bought is 3/8 of a pan. Okay, so now what we need to do is we need to calculate, well, how much does that cost? So for B5, we know that, 3/5. 3/8 of $12 is going to be the cost. Right? Well, let's go ahead and calculate that. We're going to do 3/8. We're going to multiply it by 12. So let's see. I get 36 over 8. And 36 divided by 8. Well, I know that 8 goes into 36, so I'm going to do a little bit of work here. 8 goes into 36 4 times, and that is 32. And yes, I know the update will be installed. Okay. There we go. And we have a remainder of 4. So I'm going to add a decimal. Bring down my 0. 8 goes into 40 5 times. There we go. So it looks like Serena is going to pay $4.50 for her brownies. Okay, so I think you guys have a pretty good grasp of this. So what I want you guys to do is I'm going to walk you guys through one more, and then I would like you to attempt the rest on your own. Okay, and then please, of course, check your answers afterwards. All right, here we go. So first thing that you should always do is read the directions. It says, draw a brownie pan picture for each example below. So it looks like we're using our brownie pans. Then write a number sentence using of for each. Find the part of a whole brownie pan that results. So 1/3 of 1/4 of a brownie pan. So remember how we broke those down into steps in the problems up here? So it looks like the first thing we're going to do is, well, how much brownie is actually in the pan? And I think this right here tells us that 1/4 of a brownie pan. So going vertically, I'm going to split my brownie pan into fourths. Just like that. Boom. There we go. And I know that exactly 1/4 of the brownie pan is filled. They already sold some brownies here. Okay. And then I would like to buy 1/3 of said brownie pan. So I'm going to split sideways in thirds as best you can, okay? And it says 1/3, which is an entire row. There we go. So now after we do that, you're going to count how many total squares there are. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And that number is going to be your denominator. And then how many squares overlap? Well, it looks like there's only one square. So 1/3 of 1/4 of a brownie pan is 1/12. So we say 1/3 of 1/4 is equal to 1/12. And there we have a number sentence. Sound good? How are we feeling? I know I can't hear you, but I hope you're feeling good, okay? So go ahead and try the rest of these brownie pans on your own. The answers we'll go over next class. They'll also be posted on MyConnect in case you guys would like a preview or sneak peek before, okay? All right, so go ahead and try those on your own. And then I will meet you on page 16. All right, so like I said, we're going to review these answers together in class on Wednesday. Okay, so for now, let's go ahead and take a look at page 16. Now, you might remember that earlier in the video I said there are a bunch of different situations of multiplying fractions. Okay, here we really try to give you guys some of the different scenarios you guys will run into. Okay, so sorry, I was thinking about how to explain this, but let's just take this as examples here. Okay, so the first example they give us is when a whole number is being multiplied by a fraction. Okay, and whole numbers are special because they can always be rewritten as fractions, and there's this whole thing called like invisible numbers or invisible mathematics, and basically there are a bunch of different examples here, but this is one of the main ones, that any number can be made into a fraction by placing a 1 in the denominator. okay? I'll leave this definition here because I think this is good for what we need to know right now. Okay, so any number, any whole number can be made into a fraction by placing a 1 in the denominator. Actually, let's add that. So any whole number, and you guys might remember your whole numbers are the numbers starting from 0, 1, 2, 3, and going into infinity. Okay, all right. So take a look at this example, 2/5 and 6. What number is a whole number? Don't say 2/5, it's 6. 6 is our whole number. So I'm going to write that here. So 6 is our whole number. When you are presented with this type of problem, all you have to do is place a 1 underneath the whole number. So this 6 becomes 6/1. Now, what you guys might remember is that you multiply the numerator straight across, you multiply the denominator straight across, and then you get your product, you get your answer. So 2 times 6 is 12, and then 5 times 1 is 5. Okay, now I want to say that 12/5 is okay, but I think we're going to go that extra mile and we're going to simplify this. Okay, so we need to simplify 12/5 because that is not simplified. It is an improper fraction. So how many times does 5 go into 12? Well, I know that is 2 times. So I have 2 wholes. Well, what's the remainder? Well, 2 times 5 is 10, and then 12 minus 10. Oh, so I have 2 left over. So I have 2 and 2/5, and that is my final answer. All right, let's try the second example here. So here I have 3/4 multiplied by 16/1. So the same trick works here. Right, 16 is our whole number, and I can transform it by placing a 1 in the denominator. All right, so let's go ahead and multiply 3 times 16. I don't know that off the top of my head. So I'm going to do a little bit of math here. So that's 48. And then 4 times 1, right, going straight across the bottom, is 4. Now, some of you guys might remember that fractions are just division problems. So really, when you have a fraction, 48/4, it's like saying, well, 48 divided by 4, and I think you guys know that 48 divided by 4 gives you 12. So that is your final answer. Okay. Let's take a look at some mixed numbers. Okay, so here we give you guys, let me change colors here. Here we give you guys some steps to help you guys multiply mixed numbers and fractions together. Okay, so first step is to change the mixed numbers into improper fractions. So I need to take this 3 1/3 and change it. So one way to think about this, well, how do I rewrite this 3 wholes as a fraction with a denominator of 3? Well, some of you might say, well, you just do 3 times 3, and I would say you are correct. So 9/3, is that the same thing as 3? Yes, it is. Okay, but hey, don't forget about this 1/3. This 1/3 is also there, so I need to add it to my 9/3. So don't forget this right here, you guys, is the same thing as 3. It's this piece right here. 9/3 is the same as 3. I just changed it, okay? All right, so it looks like my first improper fraction is 10/3. I'm going to change my second one, 8 1/2. So let's see. 8 wholes, and I need a denominator of 2. So I know that 2 times 8 is 16, and double check, does 16 over 2 equal 8? If it does, then you've converted correctly. And then please, please, please don't forget about this 1/2. So now I have 17 halves. Now I have my two numbers that I can multiply together. I have 10 thirds, and I'm going to multiply it by 17 halves. The rules do not change, so I'm going to multiply straight across the top. So 10 times 17 is 170. And then I multiply straight across the bottom. 3 times 2 is 6. And then, yes, I must simplify. So, how many times does 6 go into 17? That's almost 3, but not quite. And then 6 goes into 50 about 8 times. So that is 48. This is not going to be a nice number. And we have a remainder of 2. So, rewriting this as a mixed number, we have 28 and 2/6. Is 2/6 simplified though? No, it's not. We need to simplify it, so we're going to write 28 and 1/3 instead. There we go. All right. The last scenario here is where you're given a fraction and you are multiplying by a mixed number. And we also give you the steps. No, we don't. Just kidding. The steps don't really change here. So when you're given a mixed number, it's best to turn it into an improper fraction. Okay, so let's go ahead and change 2 2/3 into an improper fraction. Well, I know that 2 wholes with a denominator of 3, that should be, well, 3 times 2 is 6, so 6/3. There we go. And then I have to add that last 2/3, right? That's where this comes from. And so it looks like I have a total of 8/3. And what's nice is that there isn't too much work here. Not compared to the last one. With 2 mixed numbers, there's a little bit more work, but with only 1, it's not as bad. So 1/2, and we're multiplying by 8/3. Multiply straight across the top. 1 times 8 is 8. Multiply straight across the bottom. 2 times 3 is 6. I need to change this into a mixed number. 6 goes into 8 one time. Well, how many is left over? There's 2 of them. 2/6 is not simplified, so I'm not going to write 1 2/6. I'm going to write 1 1/3. And there we go. There's a quick review of, well, it's not super quick, but you know what I mean. It's a little bit more of a review. I think the brownie pan might be a little bit newer for you guys, but there we have it. All right. If you guys have questions, please ask me on Wednesday when I see you. Otherwise, keep up the good work. Start working on your homework, and I will see you in the next lesson.